Hello, welcome this morning. I'm super excited to spend some time with Katie this morning talking about assistive technology. Katie Larew is the founder of Assistive Technology for Dyslexia, LLC. She began working in the field of special education in 2007 as a classroom special education teacher. As an assistive technology specialist, Katie has worked with students from elementary, middle, and high school. She holds a master's degree in special education, as well as additional certifications as a certified Orton Gillingham teacher, certified structured literacy dyslexia interventionist, and certified assistive technology professional. Katie serves on the board of directors for the International Dyslexia Association San Diego branch and is an active member of the International Dyslexia Association, Center for Effective Reading Instruction, and Rehabilitation Engineering and Assistive Technology Society of North America. Katie works with students, parents, and educators by providing consultations, customized step-by-step virtual training, and professional development. Training topics focus on assistive technology tools to support the areas of reading, writing, note-taking, organization, and executive functions. Katie's mission is to spread greater awareness of assistive technology to help students build their confidence and independence. Katie is a wife and a mom to two under 5. In her free time, she loves spending time with her family and exploring Southern California. Hi, Katie. Good morning.
Hi. Hi, Kayla. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited, obviously, with what I just shared, your extensive background, certification, and experience. So I'm really excited to have such a strong professional in this field that I feel like could be so effective for children with dyslexia that really feel like a lot of people have barely even broken ground into how much access and how much support they could explore within this area. So thank you so much again. And yeah, I'm excited to learn. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you.
Okay, well, that's exactly my mission, to spread greater awareness. So thank you for bringing me here today to be able to share some more information about assistive technology. So just as you mentioned before, my goal is truly to build confidence and independence with using assistive technology. And my goal is also to not make it as overwhelming, because there's so many different tools out there and there are so many different things to consider when we're thinking about assistive technology. So to be able to break it down in a way that makes sense and also works best for your child or the students that you work with. So what is my why? I wanted to take a moment to kind of share this, just to tell you a little bit about my story and where I came from and what brought me to where I am today. So I am from New Jersey, and I was a classroom special education teacher. I worked in a variety of settings, from a resource room classroom to in-class support, as well as co-teaching. And I share that because that's really where my passion for assistive technology began. I was working with students, and at the time, going back to 2007, there were desktop computers. So, in terms of the software being installed in those computers and making sure that the supports were accessible to the students. And then as time went on, the technology started to develop and it became more accessible. So students started to have access to iPads and personal devices and Chromebooks. So being able to provide access to the curriculum for the students to be able to have more independence in the classroom, whether they were with me or into a different classroom, and moving throughout the day and going home. So making sure that they had the supports available. I apologize, that's my dog barking in the background, but I have an Australian Shepherd mix, and she's a sweet girl. So the next thing is I am certified as an Orton Gillingham teacher and structured literacy dyslexia interventionist. So do you want me to stop? Okay, okay.
It's fine. I actually can't hear her.
You
so
can't hear her? Okay, we just had to
no,
deliberate. Okay.
that's okay.
All right. Okay. So as I was a classroom special education teacher, I had an incredibly supportive director, and they brought Orton Gillingham to our school district. So I completed a 2-year Orton Gillingham program and received my certification as an Orton Gillingham teacher, and then also went on for the additional certification as a structured literacy dyslexia interventionist. And during that time, the assistive technology started to really grow. And I wanted to get my certification as an assistive technology professional. And that's really, as the years went on and just started to, the path started to come together of taking the assistive technology and my experience in the classroom and supporting students with dyslexia and wanting to be able to spread the awareness to parents and teachers and students across the country. So I started to offer my services virtually to be able to connect with families from all over. So I wanted to just stop for a moment and think about, what is your why? What brings you here today? Again, thank you for taking the time to learn more about assistive technology. Whether you are a parent and you're interested in learning about what types of supports are available for your child, whether you are a teacher and you're thinking about the different tools that you could bring into your classroom so that your students can feel more confident and independent in the classroom, or a service provider working with students, or an advocate, whatever it is that brings you here today, I thank you. And I hope that throughout today's presentation, you'll be able to think about your why. And hopefully you'll be able to learn some tools that could be helpful to support the child in your life or the students that you work with. So I always like to start with some helpful resources, because again, there's so much information that's out there. It's overwhelming trying to figure out what website is credible, what types of resources. So I start with the International Dyslexia Association. Again, I'm incredibly grateful to be on our board of directors for our San Diego branch, and thinking about the different branches throughout the country. It's wonderful to be able to connect with different branches. They hold a conference, an annual conference, but within our local branches, there's also some conferences throughout the year. It's a great way to connect with other families within the area. The IDA website also has some really helpful resources and fact sheets. So if you're hoping to spread greater awareness or helping to prepare for an upcoming meeting, visit the dyslexiaida.org, the IDA website, and you can find some really helpful resources no matter where you are in your journey. And that hopefully you'll find that one helpful. There's also the Center for Effective Reading Instruction. Again, I do have a certification through this organization. This is a great place to start too if you're looking for a provider that has a specific certification, for example, like Orton Gillingham. So you can go through the website and you can go through the provider directory and hopefully find a professional within your area. The IDA also has a provider directory as well, depending on the specific services or supports that you're looking for. And their website is effectivereading.org. And then Decoding Dyslexia, they have chapters, again, across the country. Here in Southern California, we have 2 chapters. So there's one towards like the Carlsbad area, and then another one a little bit further south towards the Poway area. And again, being able to connect with other families to learn about their journey, some different resources or supports that they found to be really helpful. And they also offer some different presentations or trainings throughout the year as well. And again, chapters throughout the country. And their website is decodingdyslexia.net. Understood.org is an incredible website. Depending on the specific areas that you're looking for support in, you can filter it so that you can focus on the specific concerns that you might have, or different tools or supports that you're looking for. And their website is understood.org. And then we also have the Yale Center for Dyslexia and Creativity. Again, here, another helpful resource, depending on what you're looking for, more information to build your awareness of dyslexia, some different tools and supports that are available, and resources that you can learn more about. And that website is dyslexia.yale.edu. So what is assistive technology? So assistive technology from the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act states that Assistive technology is any item, piece of equipment, software program, or product system that is used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of persons with disabilities. Now, when we're thinking about assistive technology can range from low tech to high tech. Low tech could be something like a graphic organizer or a slant board or a pencil grip. Or you might need, and that might be a tool that helps you and to be able to complete a task. Or you might need something that's a little bit higher form of technology that might be a specific software program, that might have word prediction or text to speech or speech to text. Or it might even be a communication device depending on your specific needs. For my area, I focus on assistive technology to be able to access curriculum. So we're thinking about students in the classroom and thinking about what types of tasks are they needing additional support with. So throughout today's presentation, we're going to go through some different areas that we come across as we're going throughout the school day or working on homework. And hopefully assistive technology can be a tool to be able to provide greater access to the curriculum. So how can AT, you can refer to assistive technology also as AT. So if you hear me saying that today, that's what I'm referring to. How can AT help to support a student with dyslexia? Now, Dr. Sally Shaywitz from Overcoming Dyslexia, an incredible resource as well, states dyslexia robs a person of time. Accommodations return it. So here we're thinking about our students or the child in our life and thinking about being able to read a piece of text or being able to complete a written assignment and thinking about the amount of time that it takes for that individual to be able to complete that task, being able to decode the text, to then comprehend it, and then to finally be able to complete the assignment, whether it be a reading comprehension, a writing task. So what we hope assistive technology can do is to provide greater access so that the student is able to complete the task, but to be able to do it independently as well. So when we think about reading, for example, thinking about the textbooks, if a student has a textbook as part of their curriculum, we want to make sure that they're able to read the textbook and that they're able to access it. And I hear from so many parents that they are sitting with their child at the kitchen table or at the dining room table, and they're reading the text to their child. And the child then is not as independent. They're not able to complete the task as independently. So assistive technology can help to provide a support to be able to read a textbook. Ideally, if a curriculum starts in a format with a UDL approach and having the curriculum in a digital format, a student could utilize a support like text-to-speech to be able to listen to the text. But that isn't always the case. So we want to make sure that the curriculum is accessible to the student. And there's different types of programs that can provide that type of support. Independent reading books. We want to make sure that our students are being given access to materials that are at a high interest level, that even though it might not match their reading level, it still matches their interest level so that they develop the love of learning so that they can be given access to the curriculum and the content that their peers are also working on. So making sure that that text is accessible. Worksheets. If a worksheet is being handed out to a student, we want to make sure that they can read the instructions, read the questions that are being asked. If it's an article, and to be able to read the text and to be able to then analyze it and complete the assignment. Workbooks. A lot of times when we're thinking about workbooks, we can think about also math problems and being able to read the word problems and to be able to figure out what is the question asking me to do. And then we're thinking about how to actually solve the math problem. So we want to make sure that we can actually read the text in the workbook, as well as magazines, depending on the types of assignments that the teacher is giving. We want to make sure that the students are being able to access the curriculum.
Katie, can I chime in for 1 second?
Yes.
So man, everything, by the way, that's one of my favorite quotes of all times that you just shared, but also when you're talking right now, I think about one of my most favorite books, The Dyslexic Advantage, and how they speak about in there about not trimming the fat. I think you and we've talked about this before, and it just really has hit home with me just because we feel that because an individual struggles with reading, that the reading material that we give them always has to be way below their grade level, right? And there's a huge difference between time for remediation and to
Mhm.
build those skills, and how do we give students access to their grade level content. And individuals with dyslexia are so bright, and
Yes.
they crave that content,
Mhm.
they crave that material, they love to learn. And so if we're constantly giving these kiddos, you know, decodable text, which there is absolutely
Yes.
a time and a place for those. I'm not
Mhm.
saying there's not, but if that's all we're giving them, we're cutting them short of that love for learning that's in their grade level content. And so I just wanted to point that out just because this is how assistive technology can truly help those learners access their grade level content that they desire and that they really
Mhm.
want.
Absolutely. And that's sometimes a concern too with parents is, when you start to utilize assistive technology, you're not replacing curriculum. You're just providing access to the curriculum. So exactly what you're saying, you're not taking away all of the additional supports and different approaches and the programs. This is just an additional tool to be able to add to your toolbox. And again, trying to create that independence so that you can access the curriculum, and then to be able to show your understanding of it and the reflection of what you're comprehending and to be able to complete the task. So yes, that's another great resource. So moving on to writing. So we're thinking about all the different tasks of writing, and writing is a process, and there's so many different things to think about throughout the writing process. So first, thinking about organizing our thoughts. Graphic organizers can be really helpful with the initial stage of being able to brainstorm and thinking about those graphic organizers. They could be digital or they could be a paper format, whatever works best for the student. Composing written responses. So to be able to think back to those worksheets or those workbooks, or those assignments that were being given, and to be able to think about what is our response, and for it to be a reflection of our understanding. And sometimes when students struggle with this, the spelling aspect, they might not utilize specific vocabulary words. So being able to use supports like speech to text or word prediction, again, to make it reflective of their understanding and their with being able to complete the assignment. Spelling. So thinking about the different tools that are available to support a student as they're completing a writing assignment and supporting them throughout the spelling process. Again, we're not taking away those programs or that time to work on those skills. This is again another tool. Editing, the editing process, to be able to think about making sure it makes sense, using a support like text to speech so we can listen back to the text. Are there any words that are missing? Does it make sense? Is it reflective of what I'm trying to say? Thinking about the punctuation marks. Writing, the physical task of writing. When we're thinking about dyslexia, there might also be some additional concerns with dysgraphia. And to be able to complete a workbook or a worksheet, and to be able to have enough space and to make sure that it's legible. So assistive technology can be helpful to support that task, whether it be on worksheets or in workbooks. Oops, sorry. Note taking. So thinking about note taking, again, similar to the writing process, note taking is also a process and can be very challenging for students across the board. So when we're thinking about different types of tools, it can be helpful to utilize assistive technology when there's a lecture taking place. Now, depending on the age of the students that you work with or your child, classes might not be as lecture based. As you get older and the classes become more focused on lectures, then audio recording devices to be able to keep track of the lecture, and then you can take notes as you're listening to the audio, and organizing the notes in a fashion that makes sense to the learner, and then also being able to read the notes. After you've written the notes, one, is it legible? And two, are you able to read the notes? Are they going to be in a digital format that you could use the text to speech to be able to listen to them? If teachers are providing copies of notes, then students can use text to speech to be able to listen to the notes. So again, thinking about all the different tasks that take place within a specific assignment or within the classroom or at home, and then thinking about the different tools that can be helpful. Organization. Now, organization could be a binder where we have the paper organization, but there also could be digital organization. And when we're thinking about our paper assignments, we want to make sure, obviously, that they're organized and we have the correct heading and we're able to find the assignments as needed. But this also applies to digital assignments. One of the first things I typically will do is have a student share their Google Drive, share their screen with me, and we'll take a look at their Google Drive. And this is a really great place to start because it gives me a better understanding of what is your organization system? Do you have an organization system set up? Do you utilize folders and do you color code the folders? Are there subfolders? Do you have a ton of documents that are almost like loose pieces of paper in your binder, or are they organized correctly into the folders? So thinking about some of those tools can be really helpful to support our students and their executive functions as they're going throughout their school day. Long-term assignments, thinking about the planning, thinking about utilizing a calendar, setting reminders. If they're working on long-term assignments and being able to keep track of the resources that they're finding along the way. There's different tools that can be really helpful for that. And again, the planner, whether it be a paper planner or a digital planner, thinking about what works best for the student. And again, thinking about those tools so that they can be independent to be able to set those reminders, create those calendar, making sure that the assignments are organized and utilizing it effectively. And so much more. So again, thinking about assistive technology, my focus is assistive technology for accessing the curriculum and specifically to support students with dyslexia, but assistive technology has so many different additional areas that can be helpful to support individuals depending on their specific needs. So I touched on a couple of the different tools during the previous slides, but I do have a little bit more information about what kinds of AT tools can help to support students with dyslexia. Now, thinking about word prediction. Word prediction, this could be a built-in accessibility support depending on the different type of platform that you're using. If it's an iPad or an iPhone or a Chromebook, MacBook, a Windows computer, there's different types of supports that are built in. For some students, they might struggle and need a more robust form of a spell checker or a phonetic spell checker. So there are specific programs and apps that can be helpful for that. When thinking about different types of tools, it can be helpful too with the word prediction to have a text-to-speech component. So that way we're not just listening to the text, we're not just picking a word that is visually similar. We're having a word that, having that text to speech read back to us so that we can make sure that it is the correct word that we want to choose. Text to speech, we're thinking about being able to listen to text being read to us, whether it be in a Google Doc, on a website, also Word. Microsoft Word also has built-in text to speech as well, and customizing the settings to make it work for the student. So there's different types of voices you can go through, making sure the speed is appropriate and that they enjoy using it as well. So speech to text, we're thinking about dictating. So this can be helpful throughout the writing process. I do have some really helpful tips too with speech to text so that when you're introducing it to your child or the students that you work with, there are specific things to think about when using speech to text, so that it's not as overwhelming and so that you can see if it's a helpful tool. Again, it might not work, it might be more frustrating, but hopefully by going through a process of introducing it to them, it can help to create that confidence and see if it is a helpful tool. Graphic organizers, we're thinking about the writing process. And again, these could be low tech or in like a paper format, or they could be in a digital format. And this can help with our brainstorming and throughout the writing process. And then It's also helpful to utilize a graphic organizers when you're using speech to text, for example. So by having a visual reference of the graphic organizer, this can help to remind the student of, this is what I'm working on, this is the next piece of my writing. And these can also include pictures as well. And there's different types of apps and programs out there that you can include images to be able to help the learner add more detail to their writing or to help them throughout the process. Digital text, so again, we're thinking about our textbooks and articles and making sure that it's in a text-to-speech. We have that tool available. Spell check, making sure that the student is able to go through and identify any errors, but then different programs also have a support above, leveled in where you can also utilize the word prediction. So if a spelling error is identified, you can then utilize the word prediction and the text-to-speech to make sure we're choosing the correct correction. Note-taking tools, again, we're thinking about what works best for the student and also depending on their specific needs, whether it be a recording device or a note-taking app, thinking about their specific needs. Dual text highlighting. Dual text highlighting is when we think about our digital text and we have the yellow bar, different colored bars go across the screen and it's going either word by word or line by line. This can help students with visual tracking and also with comprehension. So listening to text can be really helpful, but when we see it as well, and then also hear it, and then also have the dual text highlighting, it's adding all these different levels to it. Audiobooks, again, being able to listen to text, making sure that it's in a format that works for the student, finding a voice that works well for them, finding the speed, taking some time to work in those settings can really help to support the student so that they don't abandon the technology. And then finally, the recording devices as well. And there's also reading pens and so many different tools that are out there. So
the dual text highlighting, also great to reinforce and with reinforce reading fluency. So it's kind of a win-win there.
Absolutely. And thinking about all the different purposes of these tools. So they might initially be introduced to the student for one task, but then thinking about them all in different settings and what works best for the student. So if you are oh, go ahead.
I was just going to share one more thing too, kind of thinking about, because I have three boys and my middle son was identified with dyslexia in second grade. And so I've gone through this journey not only as a professional, but also as a mom. And knowing Sam, he is a fantastic storyteller. It's one of his strengths. He loves following storylines. He loves creating storylines. And knowing that that's a common characteristics among individuals with dyslexia. There's so many professional authors, successful authors that are dyslexic, but I see his writing and then I see the way that he verbally explains things, and his vocabulary is impressive, but oftentimes that's not reflected within his written work due to the spelling or just the pure time and effort that it takes him to put those types of words onto paper. So again, I feel like by offering these different resources to a child, it's going to allow you to truly see the kiddo's ability, and it's going to allow the kid to shine in an area that he or she may not, be due to those barriers that are created with their learning difference.
Absolutely. And exactly that, to build the confidence and the independence, and whether they are in the classroom, in the car, going to soccer practice, at the kitchen table, to be able to access these tools independently, and also the confidence to be able to complete the tasks. So I do offer assistive technology tutoring. It could be referred to as tutoring or training or coaching. But what I do during the training sessions is I focus on a step-by-step training. So these are virtual, and the virtual training sessions really work well with the assistive technology because depending on the student or the parent or the teacher that I'm working with and what they feel comfortable with, I could share my screen and I can walk them through everything. But a lot of times they'll choose to start by sharing their screen. And that way they are able to do it directly on their device, to be able to install the apps, install the extensions, customize the settings, and making it relevant for them. So that way, if they come across any questions or something's not working, and sometimes it's so small, you know, in terms of what might be a roadblock, but I'm there to support you along the way. And so getting that installed on your device, but then finally going into the different features and the different tools that are available for different programs, and then thinking about customizing those settings. So I do work one-on-one, but I also do different trainings as well in small group, doing a flexible schedule, afternoon, evenings, or weekends, depending on what works best for you and your family. They're customized. So each training session is to meet your child's specific needs, and then thinking of ongoing support as you start implementing the assistive technology tools. Questions can come up, or starting to layer the introduction of the tools so that as you start to use a specific tool, and then thinking about, okay, these are some different ways that we can use it. This is how we can implement it to be able to complete different types of tasks or assignments. Who do I work with? I work with students, parents, and teachers. I've worked with students from elementary, middle, high school, and college. I've worked with parents one-on-one during private training sessions. I've also done sessions where the parent will sit right by their child. And this can be really helpful too, because once we're done with our training session and your child's using the tools, if you want to be able to support them as well, it can be really helpful to join in on those sessions. I've worked with parents and teachers, and then also parent, teacher, and child, so the whole team together. And then I've also done separate trainings as well for teachers. This ranges from classroom teachers, service providers, educational consultants, teachers, and then also staff development trainings. So topics can include Apple devices. So we're thinking iPads, iPhone, Mac computers, Microsoft, Windows, Chrome apps and extensions, AT devices, built-in accessibility features, and the implementation of technology. This is a huge piece. And it can be really helpful to spend some time thinking about the implementation. It's one thing to identify the tools, to figure out, okay, what tools are out there. Another thing to be trained on how to use the tools, but then another level of implementing the tools, so that, again, making it relevant, and so that the child feels that the tools are helpful, so that they then will use them in the classroom or at home. And then also troubleshooting tips. Again, as things start to happen and you start to use the tools, my goal is so that you don't abandon them, and so that you continue to use them. And those troubleshooting things can be frustrating. And again, sometimes the reason that tools are not utilized. So going through some additional troubleshooting tips can be really helpful. The process that I have is I do have a Google form just to collect some basic information. And then I offer phone consultations so that I can work with the parents to be able to talk about your journey and think about what things have worked, what has not worked, what are your goals, so that we can develop a training plan to meet your child's specific needs. The training packages are then customized depending on your child's specific needs, and thinking about the different programs. Sometimes it's new programs, sometimes it's things that the child has never used before, and introducing them to them. Other times it's a review. They may have had access to specific programs, but might not have utilized specific features, or wanted additional training to go deeper into utilizing the tools. And again, these are for supports for reading, writing, note-taking, executive functions, and then follow-up support. So once you start using the tools, and then also having the ability to go through and talk about, okay, what worked, what didn't work, do we need to tweak things, do we need to try different types of programs, and finding what works best for them. And if you would like to connect with me, I would love to hear from you. I hope that you found today's presentation to be helpful. Again, thinking about assistive technology, I also try to encourage families and teams to look at assistive technology as an ongoing conversation, and to keep the conversation going. So as you're identifying the tools today, or you may have already identified tools, thinking about revisiting it, checking in, what tools are working, what tools are not working, and continuing to have that conversation as time goes on. Technology changes, your child's needs may change, their classroom environment may change, the teachers that they're working with. So thinking about this as an ongoing conversation, and keep the conversation going. And if you would like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram as well as Facebook at Assistive Technology for Dyslexia. And also I have my website and email out there as well.
Katie, thank you so much. This was so informative. My wheels are just turning, thinking, from a professional level, also as a parent. So I know that I will definitely be reaching out to you to get more information and training myself. I had a question, but I think you kind of already answered it. So if we have, let's say, a parent that doesn't even know where to start, that would take place by just filling out that Google form, and then you would know like where in that process they would probably begin.
Yes, absolutely. And depending on the setting that the child is in, whether it be in a public school, a private school, homeschool, the different supports that are available could be different. So I don't conduct assistive technology assessments within my services at this time. However, we're able to go through some different tools and programs that are helpful, and then you can start utilizing them today. So that's really my goal too, is
Awesome.
to build that confidence so that you feel like you're walking away from the sessions feeling like you can start using them.
Perfect. And then in your experience, what do the majority of students do? Do they have like their own personal device that they access, maybe the extensions and things like that on, that they get the school approved to take to school, or do they do these things on school devices? What's your experience, or does it just depend?
It totally depends. And that's a great question too. Again, working with families across the country, and everybody's learning environment is different. Everyone's access to technology is different. There are some schools that do provide the one-to-one devices, and then some schools also have access to programs already that they deploy to the students. And then thinking about those resources that are available to the student can be really helpful about what they already have access to. But if not, I also try to utilize different free trials. So during our training sessions, going through, and some programs have like a free 30-day trial. They also have free versions of different types of apps. So trying those things out to see if they're helpful. And then sometimes parents, again, depending on the setting, if they're homeschooling, they're able to install it right directly onto their own personal device. If they're using a school device, they do have to think about the different settings and how things are managed within the district. So there are some school districts, again, that might already have it installed. Some do allow the extensions to be installed. Other times you might need to request for it to be installed onto the student's Chrome account. But then we're also thinking about Apple devices as well. So it really depends, and also the type of platform that they're using. So if they have the personal devices and they're able to utilize the free trials, that can be a great place to start.
So would you recommend that parents first reach out to you and then go from there? Or would you recommend that parents first reach out to the schools and see, one, if there is a device that their student can use, or that if the student can take their device to school? Which would you recommend happens first?
So, I mean, in terms of having that conversation, a lot of times during our consultations and during our training sessions, we'll start talking about those things. So that way, when you do go back to the school, you're feeling more confident about the language to use, the different things to think about, the different things to ask for, and to see what is available. So by having that conversation first, then you can go back to school. But if you've already been using assistive technology and you know what is available, again, checking in and seeing, okay, are there any updates, or, thinking about what has my child been using and what has been working? What have they not been using? What has not been working? So it really depends, again, where you are in your journey, if you are just starting out or if you've been having access to tools already. And sometimes too, it's just that conversation, and then you start to realize, wow, we do have resources that are available. And this is, available right through your device that you've been using. And again, thinking about the individual's needs, those built-in accessibility supports might provide the independence and support that they need. But it really, takes time and to try to figure out what works best for them.
Love that. Yeah, man, just independence equals, empowerment equals confidence boost. And it just really is just an amazing feeling for these kiddos that so often are down on themselves. And school's hard, and it doesn't have to be that hard, especially when we have so many great tools that we can access. It's just, you don't know what you don't know. So I'm so excited to have met you and have the opportunity to share your knowledge with so many other parents and professionals, because I feel like, again, just in the end, just that awareness is going to ultimately affect our students in for the best.
No, and again, thank you so much for bringing me here. And I love spreading awareness of assistive technology and to support our students and the children within our lives. So thank you, Kayla.
Welcome.